Hey everybody! Well, this is going to be a super reaction. I've heard some whispers that the Neuvillette character demo is very exciting and a mixture of classical and techno music. I'm excited to check it out. We're going to be listening to first the version in Chinese, so don't get distracted by what's happening with the audio and with the words in the spoken language. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch the English character demo just so I can pick it up. So here we go. I'm really excited. Again, this is going to be about the music. Please don't be confused or distracted or care about whatever dubbed version I'm listening to. This is about the music. Remind yourself of that if that is something that you will pull towards her. All right, here we go.
这种证据也太无聊了吧，说是因爱生下的呀。
这下有好戏看了，他们几个都不敢接。
涉案金额这么大，肯定有问题。
审判庭中总是充满。
So that sounds a lot like something that you would hear in a Verdi Requiem. Something that you would hear. It's a very choral language. It's very choral sounding. Of course, it almost sounds like a little bit of a. It's funny. It's only like 10 seconds in, but it sounds a lot like Dies Irae from the Verdi Requiem. Dies Irae, Dies Irae. When we have something like this, in this, that was 3 chords essentially, full of choral movement and full of symphonic body. The way it opens with the timpani, that is heralding either a day of judgment. It's almost like meeting with a god, or it's celebrating something very large and poetically, if you know what I mean. Let's keep listening. So, the way that we dip there in the pitch, that's we go da 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 da. So we go tonic note. We dip into the lower sharp, if you will, or it goes into a flat, and then it comes back up. Da, da, ba, da, da. That is a sound quality of fear, of wrath, of vengeance. Very much. Yeah. Okay. This is very much a choral fantasy type thing.
讥笑、震怒、惊慌。
then we have some organ in the background. That sounds a lot like a toccata in D, some sort of Bach. Remember that the organ is synonymous with the church, and we connect it to religiosity, piety. Usually in video games, it tends to be evil, and it tends to be not like positive. That's the trope that I've seen. But I think in this case, it must have to do something with the theater, with the opera house, because it has organ pipes at the very top of it. I don't necessarily think that this is nefarious or dangerous or evil or malevolent or whatever. But it's interesting that this music has been not exactly optimistic, and typically character demos that we hear in the past are usually very bright and playful, and they show confidence. They show the characterization of the character that is very usually bright, cheerful, effervescent, young, youthful. And so this actually, if it's in terms of Neuvillette, and what we know of Neuvillette, this is probably likely to do with his past. And so I actually think that there is something that has happened in Neuvillette's life that is absolutely terrible, that has caused a deep sense of loss, almost like a total annihilation or a decay of something. That's all I'm gleaning for the first couple notes. I'm going to be stopping and starting a lot in this, so I hope you're patient with me.
心底的感情喷薄而出，将人的外表染上一层阴霾。
I love that. So then we get that harpsichord that comes back. That harpsichord comes in, we get the strings in, and it has this real Baroque classical quality to it, which makes sense because if we look at Neuvillette is very poised, tall posture, long flowing hair, very judicious when he speaks. Everything is very intentional when he speaks. And so we feel this classical elegance when we think of Neuvillette. And we also get this sense of maturity and in likelihood, in some ways, a very old character, even possibly older than the Archons, though I don't know for sure. In this particular instance, there's very much this Yes, I am here. You know, it's very slow. It's interesting how the harpsichord and the classical instrumentation there allows us to deduce a lot about who he is as a character. And so that cello that plays underneath right here, that is Neuvillette's theme. Neuvillette has a lot of sadness within him. There's a degree of pain and of loss and of suffering. There's a degree of pain, suffering, loss that is very, very, very him. This is interesting to me. Oh, and then we have that doubled with the chorus. So we have that cello line that's a solo cello essentially. Then we add the chorus and we have the sopranos. And that is useful because it doubles that cello line and is useful in highlighting again the sort of angst and sadness that Neuvillette feels and experiences on a day-to-day basis. We're not just seeing this measured adjudicator. We're actually witnessing in this character demo the sadness of his past and what led him down the path to then become this sort of in some ways neutral character who's always neutral good, I would say. And it's interesting how this music has sort of had many different layers. The first half was kind of disturbing and agitated and very and now we're in this much more orchestrated flowing quality that's much more legato and much more inward for Neuvillette. Yeah, the piano here is that's the past. That's a reflective sound quality there.
我根本没有下毒的时间。
在灯光熄灭之前，你已经做好了充分的准备。
Something absolutely terrible has happened. With that lower string there as we come in. Something has happened in Neuvillette's life that has caused him such an enormous sadness and buried all of his emotions in there.
5年前你们之间就埋下过仇恨的种子，
凶手就是你，
洗不干净的。
不要再辩解，够了！你见到他时就心有耐心。
I love that sharp rhythm. Something reached a breaking point, and we are left with, I don't know, some sort of like a change or a shift in the life. And so his life becomes something different because of this particular moment.
Listen
to the way that we are writing in that right hand on the piano. That is a real quality of emptiness, a sound of deep, deep, somber reflection on what it means to be alive and what it means to feel just an immense degree of sadness and loss.
终曲，喧嚣的闹剧，冰冷的律法。 这之间理应存在着某种谬误，背负原罪而生的人们呢，去找寻埋藏的真相。
And this is very much in a traditional choral style of a religious experience, and I do believe that there is a spiritual element to this that is deeper than there's a lot of depth in this. This isn't superficial. There's a lot of hidden meanings. And the music is guiding us to understanding the inherent depths of Neuvillette. And I'm curious about this choral music, actually.
想吧，在一切沉默之前，我会以过去审判未来。
so this is really about acceptance. This is about stepping into himself and becoming the version of himself that he needs to be in order to stabilize or in order to process and to become the best version of himself. He goes through some sort of trauma, and through that trauma, he processes his grief or the tragedy that has occurred or whatever. And then afterwards, this part with this really nice music, techno and classical, but with a modern twist to it, this is when we see him at his fullest form, where he's accepted his destiny, if you will.
最终汇聚在一起，热闹之后，也会迎来安宁。
Nice.
审判已经结束了。最高审判官先生，我有必要提醒你，太短的审判缺少足够的戏剧性。
你说的对，弗妮娜女士。但这并非结束，而是新的开始。
Huh. It's interesting how, even though we have that little moment of energy and of excitement, it gets almost stamped out, like he's being restrained and not able to fully express himself. Let's watch the English here. Now I'm curious.
You call that evidence?
It's not
I heard they
convincing
were
at all.
lovers turned enemies.
Sounds like we're in for quite a show.
That's
Neither
impossible.
There's that much, Mora? No way is it all clean.
The court is
I see. So, that's the brutality of the court.
always filled with a cacophony of voices. Passion, schadenfreude, indignation, terror.
Yeah.
Emotions burst forth from the depths of the heart and surround their host like a dense fog.
So I think that this music, it'll probably be explained, but I think that this music is actually the balance that Neuvillette has to be in the mix of all these emotions and in the mix of all this conflict, emotional conflict. He has to be present and stabilized and himself in order to fully explore his work. He can't allow himself to get emotional, and so I think that music is actually the emotions of others being put forth onto him, which is really interesting, I think. Yeah, and so this cello is actually that measured poise, which I may have mentioned when I was listening to the Chinese version, but there is that measured poise and that elegance that comes through. That cello is Neuvillette. It's very masculine. It's very low in the register. It's very strong, but also very finessed and very legato and very warm. Yeah, so the piano is the drama that people are experiencing while he watches on.
See? I had no time to administer the poison.
You got everything ready before the lights ever went out.
But I was best friends with the victim. Except you secretly hated each other after what happened 5 hours ago. Rotten to the core.
There's no use in hiding. Plan the details you said I agreed.
It really does feel like Neuvillette is a type of god. More to come on that.
They say, let justice run down like water. Water is both the origin and the denouement. Somewhere between the raucous spectacle of the court and the cold rationality of the legal code, something has gone awry. You who were born with original sin, go forth and search for the long-buried...
You who were born of original sin, go forth and search for the long-buried truth. this is the first inkling we get that Neuvillette is not a human being. Neuvillette is not of Fontaine. It's almost as though with the way that this chorus swells, now this could be the chorus of people he's referring to, but I wonder if it's one step deeper and actually this music is in reference to his godlyhood.
Buried truth before all is lost beneath the waves. I will use the past to judge the future.
Chills.
In the end, the countless rivers of emotion shall flow into one, and the tumult shall give way to lasting peace.
Is the trial over already? My dear Eudix, I must remind you, no trial can be sufficiently dramatic if it is too short.
Ah, yes. So this piano music. He has lofty goals and hopes and dreams for humanity, and then of course he is tethered to Furina, tethered to her whims, and no trial can be sufficiently dramatic if it's too short. She is of one mind when it comes to justice, and he is on the other. Like I said, she is probably chaotic neutral, maybe, who knows, and he is neutral good, or even a different kind of good. I forget what the other levels are, and he is forcibly connected to her for whatever reason. I believe it's probably because he is the gnosis. I think he is the actual gnosis rather than the gnosis being this thing. I actually believe that it is inside of Neuvillette, and I wouldn't be surprised if Neuvillette had to die in order for that gnosis to be removed from its source. I'm very curious to see how things play out as we continue to watch this Archon story quest for Fontaine.
You are right, Lady Furina. But this is not the end. Merely a prelude for what is to come.
I see, and it's so interesting how it ends that way, because we are given way to the realities of things becoming undone and being able to see the cracks in the ceiling in that case, which are the tethers of the universe or something or other. And that was a shockingly powerful trailer for a Genshin Impact character. There have been other trailers that have been equally interesting and diverse, but this one was not so much about showcasing Neuvillette's power or a character's power so much as showcasing the drama that is unfolding around them, which I thought was really interesting. So we actually don't get a full sense of who Neuvillette is based off of the music alone, but what we do get is insight into what he must balance on his day-to-day life in order to sustain that neutrality and that goodness that he so obviously, to me, displays. And that was a really beautiful character demo, and I'm glad I watched it. So if you like this, there's a lot more Genshin on the channel, of course. If you're new here, welcome. Feel free to like and subscribe. Support me directly on Patreon if you'd like to support. And as always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.